Hello friends and my lovely viewers, welcome back to the channel of Neon Safe. Today we will check out the most recent champions in Bloodline. Requiem is the name of this mage clan and we will talk about the clan trait, skills and traits. Let's get started.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. I'm tired of shit.
The clan trait of our Requiem champions is called Spirit Binding. At level 18, our champion will debuff the enemy by reducing its critical rate by 10.5% for 4 seconds. This effect only takes place when the active skill of our champion deals damage. And the effect can stack up to 2 times. In my opinion, this clan trait sounds decent. It is not something extraordinary or super OP, but it does help us on the battlefield. It may be a great clan trait for other champions as well, but only if their active skill deals damage and only if they launch their active skill frequently. But I do think most of the champions in Bloodline should fulfill those requirements. So it is not a major obstacle or problem in any way. Next, let us see what our male champion's active skill looks like. Our champion selects all enemy champions and fire a bone spike. This bone spike hit the target with 150% strength damage and lingers, aka takes 3 seconds to complete the attack. The target's energy recovery efficiency is also reduced by 35% during the 3 seconds long attack. When the 3 seconds are over, the bone spikes will disappear and in doing so, the spikes deal an additional 400% strength true damage to the target, and our male Requiem recovers constitution equal to 40% of the damage dealt. His active skill looks interesting and a little bit unique. He deals damage and debuffs the target so he or she cannot recover the energy as quickly as before for 3 seconds. More damage is being dealt in terms of true damage, which means it bypasses the opponent's damage reduction. And this final blow also recovers our male Requiem's constitution based on how much damage we dealt in the attack. I do wonder where he aims this entire skill. Like, does it hit one target, or does he hit all the enemies on the battlefield? Because the skill starts off describing him aiming for all the enemies, but then it says otherwise. Anyways, let us move on to his passive for now. Spirit Shelter. When we use either an active or ultimate skill, within the next 4 seconds the allies would have their damage taken reduced by 25%. This effect cannot stack. Additionally, each time the passive skill is triggered, the damage reduction effect for next time would be permanently increased by 5%, up to 3 times per battle. Basically, let us say we use the active skill or ultimate skill once, for 4 seconds the allies would have their damage taken reduced by 25%. Then the 4 seconds pass by and we use the active skill or ultimate skill again, now the allies would have their damage taken reduced by 30% for 4 seconds. Once again, the 4 seconds pass by and we use the active skill or ultimate skill again, and as we can guess, the allies would have their damage taken reduced by 35% this time. And now, I am not so sure if we can repeat it more than 3 times, but if we could then this buff would not go higher than 35%. 35% is the max by the way, 4 seconds may not sound like a lot, but male Requiem does have a decent looking supporter skill in my opinion. That all being said, it is time for his ultimate skill. Let us take a look. This skill description is super long, but I will try my best to break it down. He summons a deadly bone which is immune to damage and controls the densest enemy area. This bone inherits the current attributes of our male Requiem, and in the next 2 seconds it absorbs 7% strength of the nearby enemy champions twice. The bone converts the strength he collected into his own strength, but it cannot exceed 10% of the enemy's initial strength. After the absorption is complete, the deadly bone falls and deals damage equal to 1000% of its strength to the enemies within range and stuns them for 2 seconds. If allies are within range, they receive a shield worth 400% of strength for 5 seconds. The absorbed strength will vanish from the bone after it falls to the ground and return back to the enemies within 2 seconds. I really wonder how the animations look when this ultimate skill is launched in battle. It must look awesome. Anyways, this skill debuffs the enemy by snatching pieces of their strength and using it against them together with our male Requiem's attributes, in one deadly blow. We also buff our allies after launching the final strike, which can be pretty helpful. I overall feel optimistic about this male Requiem. Our champion is like an all-rounder buffer, debuffer and damage dealer. It may be hard to tell where exactly to put him on the battlefield when he has so many different types of contributions. And which champions we put together in one team also matters a lot. They have to be compatible in most cases, or else it won't work out too well. Anyways, about his traits, I personally think we should consider giving him the trait called Brutal to add up more strength. Both his active and ultimate skills are inflicting strength-based damage on the enemies after all. Now, if we want to really max out his DPS capabilities, we can add Athletic to give him more strength that is not in percentage but in numbers. A level 22 Athletic trait gives us an additional 15,000 strength. As for the third trait, we can make him more durable by adding Energetic. Energetic would at level 22 increase our constitution by 45%. The last trait of his could be something to give him more energy. That way, he would launch his skills more often, which would activate the passive skill more frequently. So, we can put the trait called Focused, which would at level 18 increase the energy gain rate by 22% for the first 10 seconds of the battle. By the way, these are just my own personal opinions, and there are other combinations of traits that can also be used. The champion doesn't need this exact recipe of traits to function on the battlefield. We can always experiment on our own, and I thought I should mention that before we continue. Now, I think it is time we moved on to the female Requiem champion. This is her active skill. She summons a wraith in the densest enemy area. This wraith is immune to selection and links with enemies for 4 seconds. Linked enemies deal 25% less damage and take 180% strength damage per second. Meanwhile, our female Requiem will restore her constitution equal to 30% of the damage dealt. If the link ends or enemies step outside of the link range area too early, they would be stunned for 3 seconds. Simply, she deals damage to possibly multiple linked enemies, and debuffs them while recovering her own constitution based on the damage she deals. This effect perishing or enemies escaping the area results in a 3-second long stun effect. The skill sounds pretty strong. And considering the effect lasts for 4 seconds, she can launch 180% strength damage 4 times, which does add up to a decent amount of damage. Let us check out her passive skill next. Casting a skill, summons 1 protective skull and she can keep max 3 of the skulls around at a time. When she or an ally has constitution below 50%, she will consume 1 skull to provide 4 seconds of protection. The ally with the lowest constitution below 50% would be prioritized. During this protection, the protected one would take 27% less damage and recover 26% of constitution. The one who is under protection cannot receive additional protection. It sounds simple enough, and she is also proving to be a supporter type of champion who protects her teammates. I am guessing from the last sentence of the description that only 1 skull can be spent on 1 ally at a time. So that is a little bit sad, I guess. But we can see great potential in her skill, and as long as she uses her skills frequently, there would always be a skull available to support the allies and herself. Anyways, let us move on to the final ultimate skill. 3 deadly skulls are summoned to hit the target with the highest total damage, and each skull deals 450% strength damage and also reduces their damage dealt by 25% for the next 5 seconds. This effect cannot stack. Each hit also permanently reduces the target strength by 4%, up to 6 times per battle for the same target. She is the perfect champion for slaughtering DPS champs. She debuffs both their total damage dealt and their strength, while also dealing a pretty good amount of damage altogether. I am honestly getting a better vibe from her compared to the male Requiem. I cannot exactly put my finger on what makes her special, but I just figured somewhere along the line that if I was to summon for them in the future, I would prefer building on the female of this clan rather than the male. Maybe it is because of her ultimate, I don't know, to be honest. Anyways, as for her traits, we may consider giving her an energy regeneration type of trait. Perhaps Focused will work well as it gives her a 22% increase in energy gain rate for the first 10 seconds of the battle, at level 18. I believe we should have this trait, because of her passive skill. If we can make her launch her skills more frequently, she would have skulls available constantly to rescue the teammates. So this trait is meant to help her supportive role in battle. The second trait we may consider giving her is Brutal. She does deal some damage after all. Even though she may not be entirely damage-based, it would be a shame letting her potential go to waste. The trait Brutal gives her 45% more strength at level 22. The third trait should, in my opinion, be something to keep her alive for as long as possible. So we can put for instance energetic, which would at level 22 give her 45% increase in constitution. Or we could give her the trait called honorable, which would at level 22 increase her total damage reduction by 25%. There are many ways to build our bloodline champions. Now, the last trait slot is kinda open for multiple options. We could for instance put the trait called brave to protect our teammates with a shield for the first 10 seconds of the battle. Or we could boost the teammates by adding the trait called hulking. This trait would boost their strength every 2 seconds, but it deeply depends on for how long the battle would go on. If the battle ends within 4 seconds, then it wouldn't be very useful. So yeah, that's that. I don't think we have anything else to add for today, but I hope this video is helpful to you. Anyways, thanks for watching. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you would like to show us your support. Also feel free to comment below if you have any questions or if you would like to share your thoughts with us. We will see you again in the next one. Take care, stay foxy, adios, bye.